Hi guys, welcome back to Irish Footy Vlogs. Welcome back to another video of ours. We're going to preview Cobh Ramblers and Waterford FC in the promotion. I was going to say promotion relegation playoff, Sean, but we're not there yet, are we? This is the first division playoff
No.
before we get to the promotion relegation, which Cork City are obviously going to be involved in that. And Munster teams galore, I suppose. And speaking of Cork City and Munster, the game is due to be played at Turner's Cross, Sean, which I still have reservations about because the pitch. I watched the Rovers game against Cork the other day. The pitch is in a serious state there, and there's bad weather due later on in the week as well. I believe that Tala Stadium's on standby, but the issue with that is that they end up having to move it in the last minute, and now Cobh and Waterford fans have to make big plans basically to move to get to Dublin basically in the last minute. That's still a possibility for me. Ideally, goes ahead of Turner's Cross, but the pitch has to be playable, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I happen to see that game as well, and it's very difficult to see it being played there. The other thing as well is, if you even if you were to give either team the home advantage, Coleman's Park looked worse, and the RSC against when I was there against Athlone, didn't look in great nick either. So I think it is unfortunate, but yeah, they probably would have to move it to Tala. Um, some people have suggested the Markets Field, but I'm not sure how that looks at the moment. So look, Tala would be a great surface to play on. So I mean, if you're looking for a
Field
pitch,
not the best reputation now, to be fair, would have when the weather's not good.
well, yeah, and I mean, of course, with memories of what happened last year as well, maybe the FAI wouldn't want. Now, I don't know whether that would happen again this year, but definitely don't want to risk it happening.
No, especially with the same team involved as well as such. But onto the game itself, I suppose. And obviously, Waterford finished second in the league. Look, they didn't lay a glove on Galway, to be fair. Finished second in the league, though, 10 points above Cobh. Cobh probably exceeded their expectations to finish third. I think even the most ambitious Cobh fan, he might have said they had a sneaky chance of getting into the playoffs, to be fair. Wouldn't have predicted third. And ultimately, they actually finished 15 points ahead of the team that finished outside the playoffs in Treaty. So that's been very impressive from Shane Keegan and his players. For Waterford, though, like they've had the top scorer in the league. Coughlin has scored 28 league goals this season. I don't know, he must have 77 in all competitions, but I don't know why he came up with 77, by the way. But from Waterford's point of view, what way do you see it compared to last year? Obviously, they were in the Premier Division last year, and it's a little different, etc., etc. Their form has been patchy lately, but obviously they came through the Athlone tie, 1-1, and winning the reverse, if you like, 3-1 with Akachuku coming on and scoring a hat trick in that one as well. So, what are your thoughts about, I suppose, that game and their general form coming into this one?
Well, aside from three players, I would say Romeo, Ronan, and Connor Parsons. I don't think the squad really, did themselves a lot of justice with the performance against Athlone. It was more of what we've seen
Mm.
um, all season. I mean, in the first half, it really could have gone either way. Um, I think looking ahead to the Cobh game, it's really worrying. I think compared to last season, the expectations are very low. I think back to sort of the position Galway were in at this time last year, where they finished second, but they stumbled over the finish line kind of, and then they sort of put it together for a playoff game against Athlone, and then playoff final they really fell apart. Unfortunately, I could see that happening to us. I don't. I think maybe the occasion does tend to get to us.
Mm.
And Cobh are a very well organised, a very well drilled team. I would say probably the best in the division in terms of how well they're coaching, how well everybody sort of understands their role within the Cobh team, and they have the past two games between these teams have been wins for Cobh, so that also factors in.
Must be reading my notes, are you? The previous two were won by Waterford, though, to be fair, they had balance to it. But
Mm.
no, but you're right, it is interesting that, but at the same time, I do think when it comes to these individual games, I do think that any
Mm.
meeting, even if they played last week, kind of goes out the window because it's just everything. These games are just individual. There, different factors come into play, a bit of pressure and that kind of thing as well. And I think a lot comes into it. But I think you're right. I think Waterford, in a way, in many ways, kind of relying on one or two individuals, as you say. Romeo didn't start that game. He has to start this game,
No.
surely. Is that the only change you see?
Uh, I don't know. I mean, he was very effective coming off the bench. You might look at that as maybe a way to force Cobh to adjust later on in the game. Aside from other changes you'd make, I'm not really sure. I suppose the only change you can see making maybe is Christy Patterson for Roland Dodowu because it's putting a winger in the wing position.
Mm.
Um, and you have two wingers then, and you can maybe stretch the field against Cobh. Um, Other than that, it's really difficult to see any changes being made. Some fans are clamoring for Killian Cantwell to be brought back into the team. Maybe now there was a very, I believe it was a Sede gave away a very soft penalty against that loan. You know,
Mm.
uh, just switched off for a moment there.
Mm.
I don't know what that. I don't know what that changed the game. I think the problem is that the quality of player that's there this season compared to last season,
Mm.
in all except centre forward position, is significantly worse. So you're looking at the bench, you're kind of scratching your head there. You know, what can you do?
Mm. What about O'Keefe?
Uh, yeah, I mean, you would say on the basis of what you know about him, but he
Mm.
hasn't been he hasn't been stellar this season.
But he's been out
Um,
of position as well, hasn't he, when he's played?
well, he has, but when he's come on into midfield,
Mm.
last season, I thought he had a bit more influence on the game.
Yeah.
But this season, I don't think he has. Whether that's the players who are around him, or whether that's just something with him personally, I'm not sure. But I think this season the best. I think the best player this season for us has been in midfield has been Barry Bagley, and he is starting. So
Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. What do you think of Keith Long? Do you think there's a bit of pressure on Keith Long? Like, I'm still not convinced that
yeah,
all the players have come in have been his choices, if I'm honest, which is I
yeah,
just that vibe, and I know by
mm,
looking at some of them, like, that kind of way you just know without.
absolutely, yeah. No, yeah, it's a big question, all right,
Mm.
because if it, obviously if they are his players, that reflects very badly on him because recruitment has been quite poor. But yeah,
Surprised me.
I think there's obviously pressure on him because there's obviously pressure on him because if you know the expectation when he came in was to go up. Now, fair enough, it was going to be through the playoffs. I don't think he'll be sacked if he loses this game because with the way the playoffs work, it was always a lottery, and he came in at a stage in the season where even at an early stage, it was very likely that Galway were going to win the division. But it is a lot of pressure,
Mm.
and uh, if they are his players that have come in, reflects very badly on him. But I would
Mm.
agree with you, Keith, that it feels like some of these players have maybe been sent over by Fleetwood,
Yeah.
um, as opposed to being players that would have been picked in an ideal situation.
Mm. Absolutely. I mean, in terms of Cobh on the opposite side, Shane Keegan's come in and he's done a superb job, to be fair, hasn't he? And you know as well that the players have been brought in by him, and he's had a big influence there. And you mentioned my team structure and that they do look like a team that are very well structured. They play good football as well, but they also have, in my opinion, and this is I could be completely wrong come Saturday evening, wherever the match is going to be, I could be completely wrong. But they're a bit more gutsy, I think, looking than Waterford, and a bit more, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It could be more up for a fight. Now, Waterford
Mm.
might have one or two individuals, and Rowan Coughlin might get three chances, put the ball in the back of the net. But with Cobh, you just feel for sure that Cobh are going to really put everything on the line in this one. And there's a little question mark over Waterford, Will, in my opinion. And he's made some good signs. Wilson Morrow came in alone from Galway. He's got 13 goals this season. We know about Jack Doherty. He's played him in more of an advanced role, even for
Mm.
him this season. He scored 19 goals. And there's a lot of experience there because you've got Abbott there
Mm.
as well as the captain. He's experienced. Brendan Frahill, very experienced player as well. And the likes of Pierce Phillips have been fit for most of the season this season as well. So Dave Charlie Lyons, another one alone from Galway, but
Mm.
he's connected to that club. He was there before. And they have a good solid base of experience and a bit of guts there as well, along with
Mm.
some good footballers too. And obviously they came through against Wexford and they won 1-0 there. They need an equaliser in the second leg at Coleman's Park with 15 minutes to go from O'Leary to give them the draw and get them through. But, you know, it just feels like for Cobh, if they don't get promotion, there'll be nobody in Cobh giving out or disappointed. But at the same time, there'll be a quiet confidence there that they can get through this tie.
Yeah, no, there will absolutely. And I mean, you mentioned it, guts is the big
Each
thing.
stage is what I should have mentioned when it comes to experience and that type of thing, steady and
Yeah,
influence. So there's another one.
yeah, exactly. I mean, Cobh don't have any. Cobh don't have the fear that I've seen sometimes in the Waterford team. I think if you look at the impact that Romeo Akachukwu had off the bench um, against Athlone, the big thing was just not playing with fear. Taking on the player in front of you. A lot of times, if there's a player in front of a Waterford player, the instinct is to pass back without even attempting to, play the ball beyond or to take on the man. And it's a massive thing. It's the importance of that can't be understated. I think that comes with there's a great cohesion in that Cobh team. Everybody trusts each other to do their job. They've got leadership on the pitch. Jack Doherty oftentimes drops back to give orders to his midfield or tells the defense what they should be doing. So yeah, I mean, confidence is going to be very high for Cobh, and I would seriously question um, whether or not Waterford are going to be able to match that.
Yeah, exactly. And then if the weather's poor as well, you just wonder as well. Maybe Waterford would prefer to play in Tala because the pitch is going to be decent anyway. But and it's a bigger pitch and maybe they've a bit more experience of that. So I don't know when the last time Cobh played in Tala, but Cobh fans might tell me down in the comments. But I think it's been a while, put it that way. Like, you know what I mean? So yeah, no, I agree with you 100% there. And I think with Keegan as well, going back to the experience thing, he's obviously recognised. Compared to Finn Harps for a second, like without going too far off topic, you see Rogers came in this season at Harps, didn't really know the league really. He played there before a long time ago, but he didn't really know the standard of the first division in reality. And you brought in a lot of young players from here, there, and everywhere, and it just didn't work, and a lot of them weren't good enough. But Shane Keegan has understood the quality of the first division and what's required and what Cobh are required to bring in. Because at the end of the day, Cobh, I know he was there at the latter end of last season, but at the end of the day, Cobh been struggling near the bottom of the table in the first division. So he's clearly fully understood what's required. And for example, there was no reason why Finn Harps couldn't have done that. If Shane Keegan was up in Finn Harps, for example, they probably would have had a recruitment process. So it's a massive thing, isn't it, to know the league around you. And Keith Long would know the league as well. I know he's been in the Premier Division, but he would still know it. And that's why I'm really not sure that a lot of the players that came in were his players, particularly the ones, as you mentioned, from Fleetwood type thing. Now, Waterford have a lot of great history bringing in players from abroad, and they've often given credit for that because they've brought in players from abroad nearly better than anyone else, and they've either went back or they've gone to, say, Shamrock Rovers or Pats or Bows in the Premier Division type thing. So that's proof of the pudding. But in this little cycle, it didn't seem to work for them in terms of what they were trying to achieve, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at, say, since when Fleetwood came in, the track record of players that have come in has been very patchy. Again, not every player has been a failure. You look at Connor Parsons, who came in, has been very good, and Barry Bagley has done a solid job in the middle of the park. Cameron Cresswell, when he's played, has looked okay. Sam Sargent is a decent keeper, but there's no Phoenix Patterson, there's no junior, players who have really set the league alight, and this is a first division level. I think the other thing you'd look at as well, and this is a good indicator of how good the squad is, that if by some miracle, if the entire Coast squad came down with the cold, and then the Cork squad just didn't turn up the week after that, and Waterford were in the Premier Division, you'd have to look at how many players from this squad would you keep, and I think you could point to 6 or 7 players in the squad who you'd cut at least.
Yeah, well, true. That'd be another question for the other day, is that if you did somehow get up and what you could do, you know what I mean, regards. Of course, Waterford are full time, just in case someone's watching, they don't realise that. And Cobh aren't, by the way, as well, which is another thing as well. Although there's a professional element down there with Shane Keegan, but you know what I mean, they're not they're not full time. But
Mm.
we talk about form and that, and I think form on the day doesn't really matter on the day. But Culver coming into this and great, like they've lost one of the last 10 matches, like you know what I mean. So they've really finished the season very, very strongly. And as I mentioned before, there's no one really missing. There's players like Luke Desmond on the bench. You know what I mean? So their strength and depth. I don't think I've ever seen the strength and depth. It's a long time since I've seen that kind of strength and depth at Cobh. And people are probably looking at this thinking, geez, funny, they're talking like Cobh are world beaters and Waterford are useless, and probably saying Waterford finished 10 points ahead of Cobh in the league. What he's on about? But I think it's more to do with the point of the expectations of Waterford compared to the expectations of Cobh as such at start of the season, and maybe the stability that's at Cobh compared to Waterford is a big thing. So, and we've seen Waterford in this boat before with better teams and not get the job done, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you compare, as I said, if you compare the expectations from this season, the expectations from last season, or sort of the atmosphere that was around the club going into the playoff final last year, it was very, very optimistic against Galway. There was a real chance, even though Galway at that stage were probably a better team player for player than this Cobh team is. But there's just a feeling that with the form, it's been so below expectation that it's going to be impossible to ignore. It could happen that they turn around on the day that they turn up all of a sudden and start playing like the team that was, say, in the first half of the season that was beating everybody and doing very well when Keith Long first came in. But it's that's a huge it would be a huge effort, be a huge turnaround, it'd be unprecedented. And as well as that, with the other thing you have to factor in is how well Cobh are playing, the belief that must be there, and how consistently well they've performed all season. I don't think they've been out of the playoffs for at least 20 weeks.
Yeah,
someone could fact check that.
Strengthens their points total, if you like. They've really moved away, haven't they, by the end of the season? There was no question they were going to be in the playoffs, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, there was no major drop off in the second half of the season with Cobh, and it's a real credit to them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to, you won't like this, and Cobh fans won't like, or Waterford fans won't like this either. But I think Cobh might nick this, Sean. I wouldn't be surprised if Waterford win it, but I think if Waterford do win it, it will be dependent on the individual play. Even that was required against Athlone, as you said as well. And Cobh are better side in Athlone. That was required as well, and that could happen. That could easily happen. Like Waterford could easily win this. I think it's almost a 50-50 to be honest. But my gut is telling me that I think Cobh might do enough to get through here. Maybe nick it 1-0 or something like that. I just think at this minute in time, they're like a more cohesive unit. And you do have to forget about how many points you finish ahead or behind this team in the table. We've seen it in playoffs before, haven't we? Where that's irrelevant, really, isn't it? What are you thinking? I sense you're nervous, but do you still think Waterford will win it?
Well, look, I can't bet against them because they're my team, but I couldn't in good faith say that I have full confidence that they're going to win. I think they're coming into this game. They'll be lucky if they do win, based on what I've seen.
Full confidence that Cobh are going to win, but my gut is telling me they might nick it.
Maybe not, but yeah, momentum is a big thing, and momentum says that Cobh are the team that'll be favoured to win. I'll sort of middle out. I'll say this is going to go to extra time and probably penalties, and who wins after that, it's lottery. But I don't have the confidence to say that Waterford are going to win this game.
Yeah, I do have to say I do feel sorry for Waterford fans at times in the playoffs, because they've been dealt a lot of hardship now in the playoffs down through the years, and when you thought they were going to win, I remember Richmond Park last year and stuff like that, and you're kind of going, Jesus, not again. You know what I mean? It is horrible for any fan base if they're going through playoffs like that. But look, we'll leave it there, Sean. You think Waterford will win? I think Cobh will win. Let us know what you think in the comments. Subscribe to the channel, and let us know what you think in general. Thanks very much. Cheers, Sean.
Cheers, Keith.